Namaskar everyone, this is Priyanka Singh Baez, the Marketing Director at PMO India Hub. I welcome you all to our first online panel discussion of this year brought to you by PMO India Hub and PMI South Asia. Today's topic of panel discussion is very engaging, given with rise in the startup ecosystem all around the world and India being one of the world's largest startup incubator, which is also giving a rise to the need of project management and PMO in the startups. And our amazing panelists having the first-hand experience with so many startups are really going to blow our mind today with their experience and insights. Also, I would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to our event and knowledge partners, Entrepreneur Cafe, Delhi Startup Clubs, and IMT Innovation and Incubation Center. Along with them, I would also like to thank all PMI chapters across India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka for being our supporters. So now, without any further ado, I hand over the reins to Gaurav Dhupa. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. And it's a great collaboration, I believe, from different parts of the country and world. So I'm really happy to see a large number of audience today. But before moving on to our actual panel discussion, we would like to dedicate this episode of our PMO Insights to a person who was casually referred to as the father of PMI, Project Management Institute, who left for the heavenly abode on 19th of February. So it's none other than James Russell Snyder. James was a founder of the Project Management Institute, a PMI fellow, its first executive director, and a past board chair from 1970 to 71. He served as a member of the board of directors of the PMI Educational Foundation, treasurer of the Delaware Valley chapter, and a member of the editorial review board of Project Management Journal. James R. Snyder, who was the last living co-founder of the Project Management Institute, called the father of PMI by many. So Jim passed away peacefully on 19th February, surrounded by his family. So as a tribute, we would like to have few seconds of silence for him before we actually start our panel discussion. Okay, so let's get started. So, as Mark Twain said, that the secret to getting ahead is getting started. So, before starting, a quick background about our panel discussion, how project management and PMO strategies are important for startup ecosystem. So India has emerged as the third largest ecosystem for startups globally, with over 112,000 DPIIT Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade recognized startups across 763 districts of the country as of 3rd October 2023. India ranks second in innovation quality with top positions in the quality of scientific publications and the quality of its universities among middle income economies. The innovation in India is not just limited to certain sectors. We have recognized startups solving problems in 56 diverse industrial sectors, with 13% from IT services, 9% healthcare, life sciences, 7% education, 5% agriculture, and 5% food and beverages. And you would be glad to know the exponential growth in the past few years in the Indian startup ecosystem. It has been 15x increase in the total funding of startups, 9x increase in the number of investors, and 7x increase in the number of incubators. Now, with India becoming the world's largest startup incubator, it's imperative that startup understand and implement project management strategies for improving business value and customer satisfaction. It is also important to understand the role of project management offices for industrializing consistent project management practices, bridging the gap between strategy design and implementation, and creating right perception of value. So, value delivery is the most important, as we understand from the project management profession. Project management for startups becomes easier when supported with a reliable project management methodology. Now, we have often seen that startups struggle with completing projects on time while delivering the quality as expected, apart from other funding and market capitalization challenges. So, we would discuss all these and more from our powerhouse of panelists today. We have with us Dr. Nikhil Agarwal, who is the CEO of Startup Incubation and Innovation Center and Artificial Intelligence and Innovation Driven Entrepreneurship at IIT Kanpur. Welcome, Dr. Nikhil Agarwal.
Thank you,
Next,
Gaurav. Thank you.
thank you. Next, we have Palash Gupta, who is the Product R&D Engineering Strategy GCC leader, NASCOM Deep Tech Club uh, representative, and he has also been recently nominated and taken the position of President of PMI Bangalore chapter. Welcome, Palash.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sarah, who is the founder of CASA Education and co-founder of Entrepreneur Cafe. Welcome, Sarah. And Sarah joins us from Morocco.
Thank you.
And last but not the least, we have Company Secretary Rajiv Bajaj, who is a board advisor and founder of Bajaj and Bajaj Corporate Chambers. Welcome, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav.
So with that, we will start. And before that, we'll have a quick 30-second or 40-second uh, introduction from each of our panelists who would like to explain their journey or their experiences. So first, I would like to start with Dr. Nikhil. Dr. Nikhil, over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting for such a interesting panel discussion, discussing about Project Management Institute, your own journey. So I'm an accidental entrepreneur, an accidental academic. I'm a business graduate, but I started in academia almost 20 years back. Uh, Now I work for the institution which is IIT Kanpur, but I'm not an academic anymore. I run the startup incubator, which is the largest tech incubator in the country. We have close to 300 startups. I also run the Center for Artificial Intelligence and also the Center for Cybersecurity at IIT Kanpur. We are the National Center for Cybersecurity and also the State Center for Artificial Intelligence. Uh, the IIT Kanpur incubator has grown into leaps and bounds in the last 3 years' time. Incidentally, we were ranked number one last year in 2023 ranking in India, and that is quite proud to say that we have beaten larger institutions like IIT Bombay and IIT Madras to that ranking. Prior to that, I have an MPhil from University of Cambridge in technology policy and a PhD from University of Edinburgh in science, technology, innovation studies. So, but I'm an entrepreneur. I do invest my own money into the startups. I participate and work with startups. And myself and Sarah co-founded Entrepreneur Cafe, which is one of the largest entrepreneurship network in the world, where we have 45,000 entrepreneurs connected in more than 26 countries.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Nikhil. Next, I would move on to Palash. Palash, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. So it's great to be part of this esteemed panel. Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks for PMOGA. I spent close to 2.5 decades working with the Fortune 100 companies, primarily in the capacity of R&D and in the engineering, and also handling some of the largest GCC centers in India. From the startup point of view, I'm volunteer for the NASCOM for a long time and run the India's largest deep tech startup community by the name Deep Tech Club, and also mentor for including IIT Kanpur SIIC, mentor for some of the IITs, IIMs, and working along with the VCs. As a volunteer for PMI Bangalore chapter, I am associated from 2008 onwards. And now, as a part of the PMI Bangalore chapter board, I am the honorary president over there, and also worked along and mentored I mean a lot of deep tech startup companies in India, and that is what is my passion, to help them out and to nurture them, and great to be part of this panel.
Thank you, Palash. Next, I will move on to Sarah. Over to you, Sarah.
Hello, I'll say good morning because it's still morning here. So first of all, thank you for having me on this panel. So my name is Sarah Wiltlashmi. I'm from Casablanca, Morocco. I'm the CEO and founder of Casa Education, which is a study abroad agency based in Morocco but operating worldwide. I'm also the co-founder of the Entrepreneur Cafe, which is a global movement where we connect entrepreneurs, startups, and anyone interested by entrepreneurship. So we have organized different meetings worldwide, and we are in more than 26 countries. I'm also mentor for some startups.
Fantastic. Now I will move on to Rajiv Bajaj. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. I'm Rajiv Bajaj. I work in startup space for almost 3.5 years. Prior to that, I was working with Panasonic as CFO and company secretary. And I'm associated with the Institute of Company Secretaries of India for the last more than 30 years. And I'm chairman of startup and MSME board of the Institute of Company Secretaries. And we have a very good community which works in this ecosystem. And I myself invested like Dr. Nikhil in few startups, and so I'm an accidental coach as well as entrepreneur. So that's my brief background.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. So, with that, let's get started. And uh, my first question would be for Palash in terms of our panel discussion. Why should startups care about project management and how project management is different for startups? Palash.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, Gaurav, I think when before getting into project management, let's try to understand that how a startup is conceptualized, or how what is the vision with which a startup works, right? And how we really measure the success of a startup. So generally, if you see whether it's a product or a service startup, there is an inflection point, right? And most of us would have heard this word saying that the PMA for the product market fit, right? And product market fit is all about, let's say that, is it that the customer started buying my product, so I am a successful startup? Maybe yes. But then the question comes, what if the customer is buying a product because either the product is subsidized, the product is free, lot of effort has been spent, lot of money has been spent on marketing? Is this enough for a startup to say that I have achieved my product market fit, which is the most important inflection point in the startup journey? We say that, okay, maybe customer are buying the product. We add one more caveat saying that, are they actually using the product? So I'm buying the product, but am I using the product? Say that, okay, now customer are not only buying the product, but they are as well using the product, right? Then the next question, which is equally important, is I have bought the product, I have used it, but not sure whether I like the product, I'm neutral to the product, I did not like the product. It could be any one of them, or it could be even a continuous scale, right? So I'm using the product, I'm buying the product, I'm using the product, but then the question comes, am I recommending this product to others who are in the need of a similar kind of product or who have the similar pain point, right? Then it's like buying, using, as well as recommending. And that is where we come little bit more closer towards what is this called as the product market fit. I'm buying, using, recommending. But is it enough? The most important question which comes for a startup to be successful in a longer run is that, is this happening repetitively? Am I buying, using, and recommending this product repetitively? Or is it that this product is solving something which is just a one-time issue, and after that I'm no more there? What we call it as the customer lifetime value, right? So I'm buying, using, recommending repetitively, and also not only me, the customer at large, in the large enough numbers, which can sustain the product's growth, the startup's growth, in a more profitable manner. And now profitable is equally important, because it's possible that the cost for me to conceptualize, to build the product and to market it and to sell it could be even higher or much higher than what I may earn in terms of the lifetime value, and what we call it as CAC, or the customer acquisition cost, right? So when we summarize all this, we say that the PMF for a startup is like the startups or the company's target customers are repetitively buying, using, recommending the product to others, as well as in the number which is large enough to sustain the product's growth and profitably. Now, when we talk about all these, each and every number, the target customer, repeated buying, using, recommending, requires a very good governance model. It requires a lot of data analytics. It requires a lot of understanding of the hypothesis with which a startup has hit the market, and the validation of those hypotheses. And that is where the overall project management or the overall management abilities come into picture. So just in a nutshell, we say that for a startup to be successful, the product has to be desirable, feasible, and viable, right? Desirable, yes, the people want and need the product. Feasible, yes, I have the capability existing with me in terms of technology and other prowess to create the product. And viable, yes, it can be profitable. This is little beyond the project management. I would say that you asked me how it is different from project management. It is little beyond the project management. The project management might talk about the deliverables, but this is more about outcome. This is about benefit. This is about sustained benefit. So yes, it is into the management. It is the program management which a startup has to run to ensure a successful product hitting the market for a sustained market share.
Fantastic, Palash. So I think you gave the entire background by explaining these examples, so which makes more realistic type of situation which we can understand. So thank you for that. So I would now like to move on to Dr. Nikhil. What are his views over the project management space and strategies, and how important it is for the startups? Over to you, Dr. Nikhil.
So thanks to Gaurav. So startups, first of all, we need to understand startups are into most uncertain space, and the structure and certainty is something which does not exist for the startups. And if you look at the quadrant which says certainty, uncertainty, 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 that quadrant, famous MBA quadrant we built. So start most of the starters when they start, they are in the fourth quadrant, which is unkungs, uncertain, uncertainty. There are things that we don't know. So there are things that we certainly know. There are certain things we certainly don't know, and that can happen anytime. That could be related to your funding. That could be related to your employees. And I give you certain examples of smaller startups and larger startups. That could be related to your government regulations. That could be related to uh, uh, your own mission going, or the product that you are building up something does not happen. So the one of the best examples of uncertainty for the government, it recently happened with a listed company which is not a startup anymore, called Paytm. The Paytm is a darling of fintech space in the country. uh, every time we something happens, we call it a Paytm moment. But in the last few weeks, you must have seen the Paytm story has there's a bubble bust because of certain compliance issue. The RBI has given them the ultimatum that they have to close down their banking services, which has dramatically impacted the business and the confidence in the startup ecosystem. The confidence in the startup ecosystem has gone down so much that I spoke to a few days back. There is an investor I spoke from Detroit, and he told me that the government of India take arbitrary decision. We also don't know when the decision will be taken. We don't know whether we invest millions of dollars into the startup, and suddenly the government take a decision. Similar examples exist in the gaming industry. One fine day, the government says 28% of the tax will be imposed on the gaming industry. Majority of the gaming industry now, the smaller startups are bleeding. Other day, I met a startup which is saying that I have put in my own 2 crores just to refund back the GST to the gamers. Now, these are the pertinent examples that exist. Funding issue, the funding winter which is going on. You have built up a business model where initially your investors have supported you to a certain level. You have Series A, maybe a million, 2 million, 3 million you have raised, but now then you require a serious amount of money, 40, $50 million. That money does not exist in India as of now. The reason is because the sheer confidence loss which the investors is having. Now that has given us the overall gamut of the unstructured, uncertain environment. Now, as a project managers and as a accomplished project managers, and most of you people are listening, they have been told to structure things. They have been told to put things into certainty, and startup works exactly opposite way. So startup, we do tell the startup that you start writing it down, build up your business plans, uh, create your own short term strategies, uh, define your customers. Those things we keep on telling the startups, but it is very challenging for them to do that because they are continuously pivoting. Flipkart started as a books company, but they do everything else other than books. Snapdeal, it's a you can call Snapdeal as utter failure, but now the Rohit Bansal and Kunal Behel has built up an extremely successful investor business called Titan Capital. So there are sometimes like you start a business, you pivot, and then you start another business. Dipender Goyal was considered as a failure. For many years, Zomato was saying it's a become a rotten tomato, and when he took over the Blinkit, their share capitalization from has gone down to 44 rupees from their IPO level. It has and suddenly the Blinkit has started doing well. Blinkit is cutting. So at that time, now that Goyal is considered to be an star, and he said that he's a he's a wizard, and whatever he touches, it turns into the gold. So now, if you look at even the large company, like now Zomato is not a small company. Zomato is a fairly large company. It has 1.5 lakh crore market capitalization. So that changes that uncertainty in the technology space keeps on happening, and that's a main challenge we face as a project management professionals. That how do you implement the fundamentals of project management into the uncertain and unstructured environment? These are the great challenges.
Great insights, Dr. Nikhil. And I think you really touched the important point of unstructured way how startups are built, right? And I think that's the most important part which the entrepreneurs need to understand which specific methodologies or strategies they need to implement. And this brings I think question around the agile way of working and bringing business agility. And I think lot of people from our audience would like to understand how to implement those agile practices in these startups ecosystem. So I would move on to Sarah to seek her opinion, how she feels in terms of these project management methodologies or the uncertainties which Dr. Nikhil just pointed out.
Yeah. So startups are new businesses that face a lot of challenges, and having a good plan for managing their projects can really help them succeed. So you see, in the world of startups, we are always racing against the clock, having to make the most of our limited time, money, and talented team members. That's where effective project management comes in. So, unlike big companies, startups operate in very super fast changing environments, and things can shift in a blink of eye, and we need to be ready to adapt. So, project management has to be flexible, adaptable, and laser focused on giving the customers what they want as soon as possible. We are also often working with tight resources, which means we need to be smart about what projects we tackle first. And project management help us figure out what's most important and how to use our resources wisely. Plus, as startups, it's all about innovation. We need the project management methods to let you try out new ideas, get feedbacks from customers, and keep improving products fast. So that's where flexible frameworks like Agile comes in handy. And let not to forget about the importance of the team, because the entrepreneur wears a lot of hats and work closely with their team. So good project management keeps you all on the same page, talking to each other and making sure you get stuff done. I would say that basically project management is like a secret weapon for startups, as it helps them make the most of their resources, take smart risks, grow rapidly, and keep on innovating. By using suitable project management methods customized specifically for their needs, they will enable them to confront the obstacles of startup life directly and boost and achieve what they want to achieve in a very competitive landscape.
Fantastic, Sarah. I think these are great set of insights, which I think startup entrepreneurs need to understand and how to build that model around the ecosystem. So next, I would move on to Rajiv Bajaj. So Rajiv, as a startup founder, mentor, board advisor, what all strategies would you advocate for startup entrepreneurs when coming to managing projects?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gaurav. The most challenging thing for a startup entrepreneur is that they need a lot of flexibility in the approach because the traditional project management tools are sometimes not that flexible. So that's where I think the project management tools have to be a little different for the startup specifically because there are a lot of changing situations. The startup entrepreneurs suddenly face some issues in their project. So for them to meet those challenges, you need a lot of flexible tools. I can think of Kanban or such tools which can be very useful for the startup entrepreneurs. Second, I think startup they work on a very lean team and lean principles. Sometimes it's only the entrepreneur who is trying to run the show in the initial, say, 7 8 months. So at that time, to manage the whole stuff, they need a lot of useful tools which can actually run their startup in a effective way. Uh, and to add to that, there's a lot of cross-functional collaboration which is also required between the teams, so that in any case the project management tools can be very effective for fostering that collaboration. But here again, the team members are limited. Sometimes specialists are not there, so one person is having so many hats to wear. So for them to have effective project management tools is again a very important thing which we have to think of. And you, as project management experts, can devise certain ways for which are very useful for the startups in particular. And we all know that startups work with the minimum viable product approach, so MVP approach. So they have to create that product and also offer that product to their customers, and establish that that product is workable and viable. So for that also, I think some effective tools are required for the startups to establish to the investors as well as to the whole world around that their product and services are workable for the customers. So that's I think these are the key elements which should be kept in mind when we are considering project management for startups.
Fantastic, Rajiv. Great insights. How we can implement Lean, Kanban, then various Scrum processes also.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would just now like to move on to the role of project management offices or program management offices, since these are very interchangeable when understanding from the concept of the execution, the governance, setting up the standards, practices. So my question is for Palash, how PMOs can support in implementing project management processes or practices in a startup ecosystem?
Okay. So, Gaurav, I'll extend the thought which Dr. Nikhil has put forward. Uh, let's say that what are the basic challenges? First, let's come to the governance part. What are the basic challenges which the startups are facing? First is the lack of awareness and understanding itself, not having the formal structures, not having the processes for the decision making, accountability, and transparency. That is one aspect of it. Second is definitely, which he has talked about, the compliance and the regulatory issues, or sometimes they feel that it is a burden, but the minimum compliance and the regulatory in terms of labor laws, taxation requirement, reporting obligations, which are there in the law of the land, right? Third, very important one is the financial expertise, inadequate financial control, inaccurate financial statements, non-compliance with the standards, some of those kind of things. Very importantly, informal organization structure, the power concentration, lack of check and balances, not having a proper board structure, limited independent oversight, access to capital from informal sources, and not having succession planning. So these are some of the basic governance issues or the basic challenges which are there inherently in a startup situation. And this is the first challenge which the PMO, or we call it as a VMO, can handle. VMO instead of PMO, because here the PMO role is much larger than the other structured companies. We replace the P by V and say that the VMO, this is the first challenge which a VMO can help, can overcome for a startup. Second is, I was talking about the product market fit. The product market fit comes with two stages. First is the value hypothesis, and second is the growth hypothesis. As a startup, I have to grow fast. That is where the investors have put money, right? The value hypothesis, when it talks about the focus on understanding what problem my product is solving and for whom. Growth hypothesis talks about what is the most efficient and the scalable method for me to acquire and retain the customers, right? Now, at times, what happens? I want to grow fast, and that is where the cart comes before the horse. The startup moves much faster or much earlier in their life cycle, pursuing the growth hypothesis before actually achieving or before actually validating the value hypothesis. And this is where the PMO can play a very important role to ensure that only when the value hypothesis has been validated, only when it has been validated that the product what we are creating is solving the problem, then only go and try to make it big, larger, spend money on the marketing effort and all those things. That's very important. And what we can say here is that as a natural phenomena, right? First pants and then shoes. And that is what a PMO can play the role. First pants and then shoes, right? Not to come under the pressure to show the growth, but go by that. The third important aspect, everyone talks about lack of resources for the startup. I see it little different way. They say that the startups don't starve, they die by indigestion. And what it means? It means that most of the times the startups are overwhelmed with different type of opportunities, different projects, different commitment, and they want to pursue each and everything at the initial stage to grow fast. They spread two things very thin, become unfocused, and that is where we lose because the resources are constrained, right? So that indigestion by overeating is something which is very tricky aspect here. So to be focused is what I strongly say that is the PMO responsibility. PMO can adopt constructive killing approach. Constructive killing, because the revenue at times is a big false positive. Revenue coming from any direction is not a good revenue. Coming on the quality of revenue, coming from what has been decided as a business plan. Kill those initiatives which are not so relevant as per the business strategy, target market. Have a discipline bring to the startup. So that I see the third challenge which a PMO can add lot of value. So I'll say that MVP, minimum viable product, MVA, minimum viable audience, to ensure that the startup is focused, and minimum viable governance, MVG. These three things PMO can handle and add value and convert PMO to VMO for the startup.
Fantastic, fantastic, Palash. Really loved the concept of constructive killing and minimum viable product, audience governance. So I think this really brings me to the next set of questions. I would like to discuss about what capital funding challenges can be resolved with the help of effective project management strategies, as we have seen that a lot of new startups coming up face these type of challenges, and they're more worried about the valuation part, as we see that new startups rather than value delivery. So I would like to just seek opinions from Dr. Nikhil, how capital or funding or budgeting challenges can be resolved with the help of these project management approaches.
Now you have asked a very appropriate question, because as soon as the uncertainty and unstructured approach changes, as soon as you start speaking to the investor in their own mind, and if you are dealing with a professional investor, uh, then the structure and the uncertainty is even less, because investors work on in business plans, they work on the sheets that it create, and they want to see your future projection, how you're talking to a customer, what you're doing. So as soon as you start talking to the investors, the whole thing changes. And very recently we made an investment in a company for a few crores, and through a network, and and though the company is headed by a very experienced person with having almost 15 years of experience as CXO in a large multinational corporation, but he somehow overlooked the MIS and other reports. So he said, when we started investing and we start asking him quarterly reports, he said that nobody has asked me these reports in the last 3 years of my startups. The first time I'm preparing, and thanks a lot for asking me to prepare, because otherwise I would have taken it easy. So that's a kind of response you get from the startup, because startup gets so busy in their own business on a day-to-day basis, they don't get time, and they suddenly sometimes forget. And many times the young startups are not trained to take up the project management fundamentals, uh, which can be quite useful. One of the things that can be done is that, I'm not sure whether the PMI has a specific program for startups, the project management tools for startups. Perhaps at your organization level, at PMGO level, perhaps you can start organizing smaller educational sessions or training sessions specifically for startups, and that could help them in generating the funding. You can create a module specifically for the project management tool for raising funding, because there it's a stickiness for the startups. As soon as you utter the magic word called investments, everybody will listen to you. Until unless you don't utter the magic word, you say, I want to give you some gyan, I want to give you some education, I want to train you, nobody will come. When you say this thing can lead you to for investments, and this is what the investor also want, they want that, have you applied those project management tools or not? Are you certified PMI professional as a startup owner? That something will immediately trigger. So I think it's quite important for startups to understand and implement the project management tools. There, if there are certain online tools also there, which can be used by the startups, but sometimes their business is so narrow that those tools does not play into the picture. So I think my request to the PMI Institute and PMGo India would be to look at this particular problem for the startup and design something very specifically for them.
Great, great suggestions, Dr. Nikhil. And I think this is the need of the hour, that we should design some specific courses for startups. I think specifically when it is becoming the backbone of the economy, right? So very relevant points. I would like to now move on to Rajiv Bajaj. What are your views in terms of managing these funding or capital challenges? What are your experiences you have faced as a startup founder or as an investor?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. This subject is very close to my heart because I'm myself a finance person. But having said that, when we move to the other side of the table as a startup entrepreneur, uh, we have to be very methodical in our approach, because at the end of the day, you have to display what kind of ROI I'm going to give to the investor, because investors. Although they are called angel investors, but they when it comes to numbers, they are very clear what they have to look into a project and how they have to evaluate the startup entrepreneur, that how ready they are with their business plans, with their projections, with their project report, how clear they are that okay, what kind of return they can give to the investor, where is their play, how they are going to have their revenue model in place, who are the customers they are going to service. So all these important things, the startup entrepreneurs need to be very clear about, and they should be using the project management tools. And there lies the opportunity for the PMO, your community, that you can actually uh, demonstrate how the risk mitigation strategies can be worked, how the operations can be streamlined all across by the startups, and how effectively they can adapt to the market changes, which definitely, as we discussed, that the environment is very dynamic for startups. So how are they going to deal with those challenges, and at the end of the day, how they are going to service the returns for the investors, because the investors are coming with a very uh, clear mindset that okay, maybe after 4 years or 5 years they'll be looking for exit, and so how that exit planning can be displayed through the numbers by the startup entrepreneurs. I think these are the key elements which every startup entrepreneur must be clear, and that is where I think the need for training. And I agree with Dr. Nikhil that everyone, if you are just giving gyan, people may not be, uh, jumping on it. But when it comes to funding gyan, definitely there's a huge market for that. And actually, it is required also, because as Palash said, that people are very weak on the compliance part, governance part, financial management part. So because most of the entrepreneurs are techies, so they have a certain wavelength they work on from, and they are very passionate about their product. So their whole focus is on product development and innovation. So the other part, which is also very important in their entrepreneurial journey, I think their PMO can come in and support them.
Great, great, Rajiv. I think these are very important points, and you also touched upon the point of technology. A quick feedback from Dr. Nikhil, since you are also representing the artificial intelligence wing at IIT Kanpur. So, do you see any linkages between project management and artificial intelligence, and how startups can make use of these emerging technologies, maybe Gen AI, to implement their effective approaches towards managing the projects?
And I think that's pertinent question today, because nowadays the Gen AI has made the life a little easier. So, for example, if you have to generate a template of your own business plan, or you want to create a project management plan for some of the project you want to do it for the client, earlier you need to take a help and you need to brainstorm a bit. But nowadays, using the Gen AI, the task can be become simpler. But at the same time, there is a caveat. I would like to warn people that don't follow generative AI verbatim. It is not giving always giving the right answer. First of all, the answers could be gibberish. The plan that the AI is giving to you It's also based on the hundreds of plans which somebody else has prepared. So it is entirely possible the plans which has been prepared in the past, they are all not so good. So you may, if you do it yourself, you may have a chance of preparing a really a brilliant strategy. So don't think that AI is brilliant. AI is a contextually, it is from the several thousands or several millions of documents. It is getting something, preparing and giving it to you. So my strong suggestion to the startup is that those who are using Gen AI use it with a human intelligence. The another thing is that the dependency on a single AI tool. Now, the way that earlier days you go and buy a refrigerator, you have to ask your mama, you have to ask your chacha, you have to ask your padosi, you have to ask the uncle in front of you, because everybody is knowledgeable and everybody will give you certain insights, that what kind of refrigerator you should take. You should take a white refrigerator, you should take tall refrigerator, it should be 165 liters. No, your family will improve, you have to take two door, one door. Same way generative AI happens. And ultimately, when you actually go and buy the refrigerator, you take your own decision because of the size of flat, size of your pocket, and your own requirement for next 3 4 years. At the same time, I would put generative AI as a salahkars or the opinion givers. So Gen AI is not a decision maker. Gen AI is only an opinion giver. You can use Gemini, you can use Lalama, you can use Cloud, you can use ChatGPT, you can use uh, anything you want, but use it as an opinion maker. Ultimately, the decision is humanistic. However, certain redundant tasks, for example, creation of a template, creation of a table, comparison between the two different documents, that has made easy. But what I'm little concerned more about it, that people have started taking whatever has been suggested by the Gen AI verbatim and further started giving it to them, and that actually lead to your reputation loss. And today, in fact, both Palash and Rajiv and Sarah and you yourself will agree to that. If you receive an email and a proposal, and by reading in first two paragraphs you realize that it is used by chat gpt or something, what kind of reputation you have for the person who sent it. It may be a shakespearean english, it may be impeccable, but immediately you say that this person has not put in an effort, and you lose immediate credibility, you lose trust. So I think that's a big danger for startups, because you have limited number of clients, you have limited number of people who are already, there are already limited number of people trusting you, and then you send a proposal or a sheet or a plan which is using the gen ai, and then you further lose the confidence. Oh, this guy don't even have brain to use, put a proposal on himself, he has used the gen ai. So gen ai is not adding to your credibility. That's the reason I'm saying you need to have a very smart user of Gen AI. You need to think like an opinion maker, but you have to create your own documents. There has to be your own emotions. Your has to be own your decision. There has to be your own language that has to be reflected on when you are creating any kind of plans. Same goes with the PM tools. There are number of ways I have seen people are using Gen AI to find the decisions and creation of project plans. But my strong suggestion is that don't follow verbatim what they have said. Use your own brains. So use it like a tool. Don't uh, make it your boss.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think they are our virtual assistants, as some earlier reports also mentioned. And you really brought a very important point that human intelligence must be there, because it is meant for augmenting the human efficiency and not for replacing the human in the entire ecosystem. Okay, fantastic. I would like to now move on to Sarah. Sarah, you touched upon a point of innovation. So my question to you would be around innovation. How you think a culture of value delivery, innovation, and bringing a social impact can be fostered through project management and PMOs in a startup ecosystem, especially when you come from that volunteering background through entrepreneur cafe. So what are your views on this?
Yeah, so having experienced as a founder and co-founder of two different businesses, so I advocated several project management strategies and tips for achieving project success need to be set. So first of all, the anyone should have a clear and define project objectives, outcomes, and KPIs from the outset because this ensures everyone on the team to understand the goals and can align their efforts accordingly. And second, they have to identify and prioritize the tasks based on their importance and impact on the project success. So, for example, they can use techniques like Ensehoven matrix, which is take the urgent and important things they have to do it. If something is not urgent but important, they have to schedule it. If it's urgent but not important, they have to delegate it. But if it's not urgent and not important, then they have to delete it. And there are also other methods that can be used, like the Moscow priority, which is must have, should have, could have, will not have. Another point is it's also a great idea to use the agile method like Scrum or Kanban because these ways of working are all about being flexible and adapting quickly and getting better bite by bite. But I also always believe that communication is key because everyone should be kept on the loop to know what's going on the project. So we have to share updates, celebrate milestones, and talk about any challenges that the startup or the project is facing. And we also have to let the team members take charge of the work and give them tasks to do. Trust them to get it done and encourage them to share their ideas. But we also have to keep learning and improving as we go because we have to take a look on how our project is going, listen to feedbacks from our team, but also from our customers, and use what we learn to make things even better. Lastly, we have to use tools to help the project grow. And there are a lot of applications like Asana, Trello, Jira that can make managing our project a whole lot easier.
Great insights. So I would like to just move on to Rajiv ji. So in terms of valuation versus value delivery, what are your thoughts? Since we have been seeing that startups are too much concerned over the valuation when they enter into their entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, so valuation comes from value delivery, right? So there is no shortcut to that because at the end of the day, when startups go to the market, when they are presenting their product, when they are pitching uh, to the probable investors, so they are in that process creating a lot of milestones for their journey. And Dr. Nikhil will agree with me that right from the day one, when they first go to the incubation centers, they go to present themselves before the various Atal Innovation Missions and try and get some government recognition or grants. These are all steps which keep on adding to kind of a validation for them where they start building their reputation in the market that they are uh, having a good plan or business plan to talk about. And then when they grow, they start getting traction after they come into the market. They start getting customers. There are various tools to measure how they should be looked at and valued. So I'm sure the startup entrepreneurs, when they actually plan their journey, the valuation is always on the top of their mind because and I have come across many of them who want to remain bootstrapped in the initial phase of their journey because they don't want to give the equity at a very lower pricing. So, so there are various theories and various practices which startup entrepreneurs are adopting. and their PMO can come in to help them how to measure those valuation. They are very, registered valuers are there to support them and give them a lot of inputs on how to create the valuation for their own startup, and how to measure that valuation. And Bangalore being Makkah of our startup activity, I sometimes come across some valuers who are having very innovative techniques to talk about as when it comes to the valuation of the startups. So the journey has to be, you should give value back to the customers, back to the society, and automatically it will bring, the investors will start recognizing you and you start getting value. Yeah.
Great, great. So I think we are just 5 minutes left. We can take up a few questions. I think there was a question from Priyanka itself. At what point should startups start investing in setting up PMs or PMOs? Is there any standard team size which impact this phase? Maybe Palash or Sarah, you would like to take it up.
Well, I think my answer is very straightforward. Priyanka and everyone. PMO, probably we are talking from the structure perspective, from the day one. It could be one of the founders. It could be it could be if you have an investor who has actual effort available, or it could be any one of the independent director. This role has to be played from the day one. I mean, it's like you take two steps wrong initially and you go in some other direction. It's like my shirt's button. If I put the first one wrong, the all rest all will go wrong. From my perspective, it is not about the size of the startup. It's not about putting the structure. It's about taking up the responsibility of PMO, which should be taken up from the day one. I mean, take the first step right, take all the steps right.
Fantastic. Uh, there is one another question from Bhavik Gupta. How does the project management office support startups in the context of operations, given that project management typically focuses on projects, programs, and portfolios? Startups encompass various operational aspects such as marketing, focusing on output and productivity. Who would like to take it up?
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
answer
there,
this
there,
question.
yeah, doctor. Yes, sir.
Rajiv, you go ahead, please.
No, 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 please, please.
My simple answer is that the project management in the larger context does focus on context of operations, which is project programs and portfolio. But see, these are the management fundamentals. Project management does not mean that you have to only do when you have a project or you have a program or your portfolio. So the fundamental of management, if you read any good quality management book, whether it's in change management or whether it's marketing, whether it's HR, whether it's team building, those fundamentals guide you that how do you should do your business. uh, and that does not mean that you have to follow all the concepts. You can borrow some of the concepts and you can cross reference them into some other work. So the fundamentals of the project management can be used for marketing. The fundamentals of project management can be used even for your talent retention. So they will provide you guidelines and open up your aspects of taking up the challenges in a more structured and a certain way.
Great.
Yeah, and I would like to add here that PERT charts and other tools can be very useful for you when you are actually monitoring your operations. So, and you can actually display to the investors and people taking interest in your startup that you are monitoring your startup very effectively. That can be very helpful for creating valuation as well.
Absolutely. There is one comment from Rajaram Rao. Having a PMO centric approach to evolving the startup journey would help in scaling up naturally as revenue potential increases. Uh, then there is one more question, though we are left with 1 minute only. Let's take it up quickly. Upcoming project managers or project management enthusiasts who are looking to start in this field, which one do you suggest? Startups or MNC mid-sized organizations for them to start with, and why?
See, Priyanka, very interesting question. But see, MNC means big money and big projects. But when you are actually working with startups, you have to actually handhold them. So it's uh, if you are purely focused on revenue model of yours as a consultant, then I would say it's the other way around. But for startups, you have to actually grow and build with them, and many a times they'll offer you equity, not the real money to start with. So you have to make your choices.
Fantastic, fantastic. So with that, we'll come to an end to this amazing panel discussion. Would like to thank everyone. And as a note of gratitude, we have these certificates of appreciation for Dr. Nikhil Agarwal, Palash Gupta, Sara, and Rajiv Bajaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would like to now hand it over to Sri for the vote of thanks.
Hey, thank you so much, Gaurav. It is really an amazing evening, a power packed panel discussion, I would say. I just wanted to share very heartful information there. There were 240 plus registrants for this event, and we are very glad to see about 180 plus people participated live today, that too on a Saturday evening. That's really amazing. That shows the importance of PMO and how it blends with the startup culture, and especially to hear from all uh, experienced folks who are present on this. So I'm so grateful, and my heartfelt gratitude to all of the panelists, Dr. Nikhil Agarwal, Sarah, uh, Palash Gupta ji, Rajiv Bajaj ji. This has been a tremendous, panel discussion. Um, I can really quote a lot, which I really loved it. But at midst of time, I would like to take uh, a minute to thank all the participants who came in, 180 plus participants that were on a Saturday evening. A special gratitude, a special thanks to Project Management Institute South Asia, and all its 11 chapters across India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Um, Thank you so much to Entrepreneurs Cafe, Delhi Startup Club, IMT Innovation and Incubation Center, and the PMO Global Alliance for all your unwavering support and the collaborative spirit. See, we are truly grateful for all these amazing, engaging discussions. The knowledge was shared, and the discussions, which we are sure that will create positive impacts within the startup ecosystem for bringing in the PMO space. And thank you once again for all your active participation and the continuous support. Together, we are shaping a more robust and efficient future of project management office in our startup landscape. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.